Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're taking a look at NZXT's H510 Flow. Will it let the cash flow out of your wallet to buy one of these? Let's find out. Okay, so in today's video we're taking a look at the NZXT H510 Flow. This is a moderately expensive case for those of you looking to build in a ATX form factor build. Obviously it will take micro ATX and ITX motherboard should you wish to, but ideally is suited to ATX. There are a few limitations of this particular case, but that is one of the things that NZXT are relatively well known for. It is more of a case of form over function, which is something which they've been relatively well known for. There are a lot of drawbacks of this particular design, and including the price. It does price itself in the market in an extremely competitive area where there are other options such as Corsair's 4000D, also Lian Li 215 and many others. So is it going to be the right case for you? So we're going to go through today, do a teardown of the case, go through all the pros and cons, etc. We'll come back at the end with my final thoughts, and then you can work out whether it's going to be the right case for your build. So starting off, let's talk about design. So design is obviously a massive thing for NZXT. They've gone for a very much a kind of a neutral look. The mesh front, which is a new addition on the 5000 series, now will allow it to breathe a little bit more easily, which is something which most of us in the PC gaming and just general enthusiast market always strive for. You really want to have a case which breathes well, keeps your components cool, especially if you're planning on a high-end build. With the addition now of this mesh front panel on here and also extra filtration, it does even up the playing field a little bit in the market of many mesh fronted cases, but still there are a lot of design elements which have kept it very much an NZXT case. So we've got lots of clean lines, a very kind of minimalist look, and if you're looking to put this into some kind of office environment or somewhere where it's going to be on show, certainly it is going to be a head turner. But does it have all the features you need for your build? The design elements which they've included, one of which is being on the top, we've got the traditional thing where there is just a single fan mounting point, so adding a top mounted radiator is pretty much out of the question unless you go for a 120 or 140mm AIO, which most people will probably shun. Moving towards the front, obviously at the moment there is this mesh section here. They do include out of the factory two 120mm fans. They're not particularly good fans, they get the job done. They are a little bit on the noisy side at the high end, and they are only 3-pin connections rather than being the 4-pin PWM, which would be preferable. Being that this case is mostly focused around this front section, let's take a look at that first of all. So this front panel, really nice looking. This is effectively kind of like a double mesh. So you've got the mesh on the front, which is the circular mesh, and also behind that, if you remove the panel, which unclips relatively easily, there is also an additional filter, which is just a fine mesh one. So if you wanted to get even more airflow, potentially if you wanted to and you weren't too concerned about dust, you could put the front panel back in without it, allowing the case to breathe considerably more easily. Something which I have noticed already, NZXT, generally their build quality is absolutely excellent, but I do find with this, there's a lot of things which are kind of just, you have to give it a little bit of an extra tug or an extra pull, or things just don't come apart as easily as I'm used to. One of the things in particular is this actual mesh, or the nylon screen here. Just trying to get it back into this section, it basically doesn't want to go in. You do have to give it a little bit of persuasion, and in fact I'm going to have to bend this now a little bit to get it to fit into the runners, and slots in, and it's all a bit, it's not as easy as it could be. Ideally, if they've made this just slightly narrower, maybe added some magnets on the side just to make it easier to remove, I think that would have improved the design a great deal. Taking a look behind the mesh and the screen, so we've got access now to the fan area and also for radiators, etc. So you can fit in here either two 140mm fans, two 120mm fans, a 280mm radiator, or a 240mm radiator. Obviously 120s are included as well should you wish to, although again I don't think many people will do that. The actual frame itself that the fans sit on, and potentially radiators, is on a removable section, so there's just two thumb screws on the inside which we'll take a look at shortly, and then you can remove that all out to install your radiator, then plop the whole thing back in. Whether or not that's actually necessary and whether it's actually needed, I don't really know. Personally, I'd be quite happy just to place my radiator in there and put some screws in and be done with it, but as with most things NZXT, it is a little bit over-engineered. On the bottom section, we've got this nice panel here with the NZXT logo, which is very discreetly done in a very slightly different shade, so it does stand out on certain angles. With that out of the way, we can take a look at the side panel. So the side panel, as you can see, this is the black version. There are other color options available. This has a extremely dark tint to the actual glass panel there. So depending on what you're putting inside it, if you do want to have a system with a ton of RGB, but you don't want it to be blindingly bright, then it's actually a really good idea. Although if you're going for a more neutral system, you just basically don't want to see anything, it will black it out entirely. Essentially, if you are going for a non-RGB build, you're probably better off just with a complete metal side panel. Removing the side panel is a relatively painless task, although at first it did scare me somewhat. So there is a single retaining screw on the back here, and essentially you just kind of pry the glass away. There is a little bit of flex to it, so when you pop it out, it is held in with pop panels, and the glass does look like it's bending a little bit. And then once that's out, you can lift this section right out. The glass panel itself doesn't really give me a great deal of confidence. There's only edging on certain areas. This is just basically tempered glass. The only section which is actually reinforced is this top section here. So again, yeah, the flexing when I'm removing it isn't particularly, it doesn't inspire me with confidence. Looking at the glass itself, you can see there is a pretty dark tint to it, even with some of the plastic protection removed. So with that out of the way, we can take a look inside the case. And again, as with the rest of the design, this is all very stealthily done. It's very, very blacked out indeed. There are different colorway options again, like I said. So if you do a different one, this section here, which is removable for cable management, that will be in a different color, so it will kind of highlight if you wish to. There's lots of ventilation in here, which is a really nice thing to see. So on the bottom panel, there is essentially kind of like a full mesh system at the bottom. And something I really do like to see at the very bottom are these massive cutouts here for passing through things like your HD audio connection, USB 3.0, USB 2.0 and your front panel connections. I really do like that. That is something which can be problematic on some builds when you put a power supply in and then you just can't get your fingers through to put your cables through, which means you have to remove the power supply and start all over. So yeah, that's really good. I like that a lot. Sadly, there isn't a cutout in this front section in front of the fans, so if you do want to use a slightly larger radiator or maybe some other combination, there is no option to go into the basement section, which is, I think, a little bit of an omission, to be honest with you. But let me know what you think in the comments section. I'm going to take the back panel off now so you can actually see better the pass-throughs, because obviously being a black case and being dark, you can't really see it a great deal. Taking the back panel off is a very similar thing. So you undo the two thumb screws on the back and you kind of push it out. It is kind of latched in. There are 3 latch points, top, middle and bottom, which attach to the case, which again also I feel has been relatively over-engineered. And just to demonstrate that point, I'm going to actually try to put this back on first time, which yeah, may or may not work. So you kind of have to line it up and kind of swing it into position. And then kind of clamp it in, which again, for me personally, I've seen a lot of cases over the years, and this actually is probably one of the trickiest to do, especially if you've got cables or anything down in this section, which is going to push this out a little bit so you can't latch it in. Yeah, again, just really over-engineered for what it needs to be. A simple clasp along there would have been much better. So let's go back into the interior of the case. So as you can see a little bit better now, so we've got a massive cutout here for CPU coolers and gaining access to backplates, etc. Again, you can see the pass-throughs here very easily. There is a pass-through at the very top that runs all the way along, which I might have to adjust the angle a bit. So for passing things through like your EPS connection for your CPU power, maybe extra fan connection for the single fan on the top. Yeah, very easy to do, nice big space there to pass the cables through. It is also nice to see that all of the pins or pillars or standoffs for motherboards have actually been pre-installed, and something which I always like is the fact that the one in the very middle does have actually like an indentation pin, so you can use that to make sure that your motherboard's correctly lined up. As I said earlier, the front section here is actually removable on thumb screws, which actually don't appear to be over tightened from the factory, which is always a nice thing to see. You don't have to use a screwdriver, which is often the case. So this section just pulls out, and you can take the fans out and all the cable in. Again, the frame works very well, so you could just attach a radiator or your fans, then slot it all back in. Again, kind of unnecessary really, unless you have a specific kind of aversion to installing an AIO directly into a case. It does certainly give you a little bit more extra room there, so if you are working with maybe graphics cards, etc. You do have room in here for up to a 360mm graphics card, Also, when it comes to CPU coolers, you're looking at 165 millimeters high. That's the most you can go in there, so that's going to cover pretty much most bases. If you do want to gain even more room whilst connecting everything up and wiring things up, you can actually remove this NZXT cable management bracket. There's a couple of screws on the back, about 3 screws, and then that whole thing can pull out. Some people may want to customize the case a little bit, so you could always take that out, give it a sand, give it a little bit of a paint, and add an accent of your choice. As you see, we have got one installed fan on this bracket already, which is in the kind of default stock configuration. These are actually the RF120 AF fans. Again, nothing overly special, and they do terminate into a 3-pin VDC connection rather than being the preferable PWM. They've set this up as being kind of the optimum solution out of the box. So at the moment, the fan is going to be kind of hitting towards the graphics card and that area, and then obviously you've got your exhaust at the top, so that's a pretty good airflow path. I think if you put both the fans up front to begin with, you probably suffer with these fans not having quite enough static pressure to actually force air out of the case. The other included fan, as you can see, is mounted already in the position at the back. This is a position just for a 120mm fan, that is all you can do there, and again it is the same setup, so it's a 3-pin voltage DC control rather than being PWM. Moving around to the rear of the case, so again you can see the rear view of the fan mount there. You've got the I/O cutout, which is all done nicely, no sharp edges, etc. All of the PCI Express blanking plates are removable and replaceable, so that's always a nice thing to see. And also you have got the adjustment bracket on the side, which does appear to be over tightened, so you probably will need a screwdriver the first time, which kind of makes it a little bit pointless to have thumb screws, being that they're, well, not able to be done with your thumb. So you can loosen those off, and then you can pull that across to actually get your graphics cards, etc. into there. So yeah, that's all well and good, all fine, no problems there. And at the bottom we've got the power supply basement section. Nice and easy, there's no extra brackets or grommets or anything there, so literally slide your power supply in from the back and put in 4 screws, job done. Moving around to the back of the case, so this is the business area, so this is where all your cable management is going to go. And again, being NZXT, they've over-designed the bejesus out of this. So there's plastic rails which run around here for running through fan leads, all that kind of stuff, and also your EPS connector can be tucked in along here. Very easy, very nice, easy access to do. You've also got some cable management sections here, which will be useful for your power supply, go into your main 24-pin power connector, and potentially you could run up maybe a graphics card one should you wish to. There's also included Velcro straps as well to make cable management a little bit easier, although they do include some cable ties actually included as well, so if you prefer to use those, you certainly can do. Next up, we've got the removable sleds there for 2.5-inch drives, so you can use either laptop drives, SSDs, that kind of thing. Those are on a single screw, so undo the screw, and then there is a small latch at the top which needs to be pulled, and then these will come out, mount your drives on, stick them back in, and yeah, again, not the easiest thing, a little bit fiddly, but certainly can be done. It's not the sort of thing you're going to be putting in and taking out on a regular basis anyway, but yeah, could have been made a little bit easier, I guess. Also, you've got some cable management sections down through here. Obviously, this indentation here is where your cables pass through and are hidden by the panel. You can remove that panel, so there's a couple of screws at the top, one there, one there, one there, and you can just remove that whole section should you wish to. If you've got some cables which need a little bit of training first of all, then you can put those in, get them to settle down into the right angles, then put the bracket back in after should you want to. Moving a bit further down, you've got the section here which is completely open, so this is where your fans or radiators are going to sit, so you have got access there. So if you are having some sort of RGB setup, then gaining access to the cables is all very good. You've also got your front I/O section here, so this is a pretty decent selection really. HD audio as you expect, USB Type-C, which is always nice to see. You've got a USB 3.0, and also there is the front panel connector. Now the front panel connector is something which I actually really like. This is a solid block, so it's designed to fit onto pretty much most motherboards. One fell swoop, so you don't have to worry about getting the cables around the right way, it will only fit in one way, so that's excellent. Should you not like that, or you have a motherboard like an Asus board where you've got the sockets or pins dotted out across a certain area, there is an adapter for that in the accessories box, which we'll take a look at. So in the accessories box you get the manual which tells you how to stick it all together, and this is actually one heck of a manual. There's A lot of stuff there going into quite good detail, so yeah, that could be handy for some novice builders and for those that actually can't work out how to remove the glass side panel. Very handy. NZXT box, this is our accessories box in here, so actually they've done a really good job on this. There's a lot of accessories in here, and what they've done is try to make it as easy as possible for novice builders. So let's go through what is included here. So you've got the kind of flat screws, and they're all marked up saying exactly what they are. You've also got a motherboard pillar or standoff, or a quick release screw. There are some case fan screws, which kind of not entirely sure why you'd want those, but they're included anyway. More screws, and even more screws. So there's a little bit of everything, all nicely laid out and all individually done. So if you follow through the instructions, it'll tell you which screw you need, so you're going to know exactly which bag to head into. Also included is something which kind of, again, over-engineered. The case front panel has a combo jack on the front, so that is for TRRS, or combination headset microphone. They do include as well a NZXT splitter, so that converts TRRS into TRS for both headphone and microphone. Obviously, there's no reason really why they need to add this to add to the cost. They could have just put a split one in there. Most people generally, I think, tend to use split headsets. Let me know in the comments what you think. Or a lot of people tend to use USB ones, but anyway, they have included it. Something which is not always obvious as well, the fact it is split, you do have to look very closely to actually work out which one of these connectors is your headphones and which one's the microphone. They could have color coded it, kind of red and green, that would have made a lot of sense. It only needs to be a little ring on the end, but it would have taken the guesswork out of it. So if you are using this and you don't have your headset plugged in all the time, if it's kind of not particularly well lit, you'll be hunting around and trying to find a torch to work out which one of these damn connectors is for your headphones. We also get some cable ties in there for cable management purposes, which is always a nice thing to have. And last of all, we have the adapter. So this is to convert the front panel connection. So that converts it to their own particular one into the split cable. So if you have them spaced out, you can use that. Again, kind of over-engineered. Most boards these days, I don't know of a board actually off the top of my head which will not fit with the standard front panel setup. But if you do have a motherboard that doesn't adhere to that standard, please do let me know in the comments. I'll be interested to hear it. So let's head down into the basement section. So in the basement there is a drive caddy, so you can put two 3.5-inch drives in there, plus also you can fit another 2.5-inch drive on the top, which is excellent. Potentially you might even get another 3.5 on there. Yeah, you might well get 3 in there, although you might get a lot of heat generated there, so I'd probably advise against it. Again, because we don't have a fan in this very bottom section, the hard drive bays aren't going to get any ventilation at all really, so they are going to generate some extra heat. You can remove that if you want to. There's 4 screws on the bottom, which means also you can slide it back a bit, although sliding it back a bit again is kind of pointless because there's no access to this from the inside. You can't really put any other drives or radiators in there to go the full length, so kind of a bit pointless the fact that it moves. I get that this case is a kind of a redesign, so from the original 500 series that might have made a little bit more sense. Plenty of room in here for a power supply because the actual chassis is a little bit wider than usual. Nice bit of room there, especially for cable management. At the back there is actually a filter as well for the power supply. Nice removable filter there, again reusing the mesh. I do like these much better than those kind of flimsy metal ones, but that's all well and good. Although it is a little bit tricky to get in sometimes, and also it kind of does wiggle around in there. It's not really held in very well, so in some instances you may find if you've got a power supply which is kind of resonating, you may find that filter actually resonating as well and giving you a little bit more noise than you'd like. Moving down to the bottom so you can get a better view of what's going on here. So you've got the feet on the bottom with foam pads, which is awesome. They do raise it up quite a bit, although realistically there's only going to be ventilation for the power supply anyway, so whether it's necessary or not, I'm not really sure. 4 screws there, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Undo the screws, you can move the drive cage, slide it back and forward, or remove it entirely. Looking at the top, we can see again, lots of wasted effort here. That could have been done. Change the tooling, get this section and that section, so you can at least add a couple more fans or a roof-mounted radiator, which in my mind is always preferable, but you can put in here a 120 or 140mm fan, which isn't included. Front I/O wise, again, form over function, very, very limited, so no reset button at all. So if you've got a RGB add-on which needs a reset button, then you're kind of out of luck there. You do have a power button, and also there's illumination around the power button, a single solitary USB 3.0 port, a single USB Type-C, which is a pretty good addition, and that combo headset and microphone jack. Okay, so there you go. There is the NZXT H510 Flow. I'll be honest with you, I'm undecided. Now, there's things which go against this particular case, such as, well, for one is going to be the price. You can pick it up every now and then on special offer for somewhere in the region of about £60. Dave, who actually bought this, who's a regular viewer of the channel, Dave Aitken, actually bought this for one of his work's PC builds. So they are in quite a swanky looking office, so they want something which looks nice and obviously isn't over the top with RGB, etc., very muted. So in terms of a design office, which has designer equipment and all that kind of stuff, then this makes absolute perfect sense. And for that kind of target market, where you just want a simplified build, you just want it to kind of work and not have to worry too much about it and not have a great deal of flexibility, you just build the system and be done with it, it's absolutely fine. Personally, I think there are other options available which aren't as stylish, I would argue. Again, the Lian Li 215, even GameMax F15, various of the cases, Corsair's 4000D, which is kind of extremely popular, which does give you a ton more flexibility and possibly even cheaper. So yeah, it is one of those things. It is seriously form over function, but the thing is, that is part of the PC industry. There isn't a single case which suits every single budget and every single design choice, which is, I think, where NZXT have done really well. And in fact, their whole range really is kind of a design. This is what we are. This is what we're about. Some things are done in a way that we possibly wouldn't like them to, but NZXT are sticking to their roots and saying, no, this is the way we want to do it. This is what we like. Very much like Apple in that regard. Anyway, I wouldn't say 100% I hate it, and I wouldn't say 100% I love it. I'm kind of somewhere on the fence. Depending on the type of build you're going to do, it's going to appeal to a certain type of person. But what I think about it isn't important. What you think about it is. So let me know. Feel free to let me know in the comments section. Do you like this case? Do you appreciate it? Obviously, the inclusion of having airflow is something which NZXT were kind of mostly always against. They always wanted those flat panels and very angular design looks. So it's definitely a step in the direction that we want it to be heading. More airflow, a little bit more flexibility. It's just a shame that some of the other things they are not quite willing to budge on, such as top-mounted radiators and plenty more I/O. Anyway, that's going to wrap this one up. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.